People would rather call their children Lucifer than Nigel. In 2021, there were 15 babies born called Lucifer, and none were named Nigel. People would rather name their child after the ruler of hell than give them the name Nigel. So Carl, to answer your question, the name Carl is of Germanic origin and means free man, or simply a man, and is the Germanic variation of Charles, with the name originating in Old West Norse. Here we have a map of countries that drive on the left and right hand sides of the roads. Most countries overall drive on the right side, with only a select few choosing to drive on the left. In the left hand camp we have of course my country, the United Kingdom, as well as Ireland. The only two European countries to also do this are Cyprus and Malta, which are only visible as tiny dots on this map. A large amount of the countries that drive on the left are former British colonies, such as India, Australia and South Africa. In fact, a large chunk of Southern Africa, in addition to the entire Indian subcontinent, drive on the left. Other countries that drive on the left include Thailand, Malaysia, India, New Zealand and Japan. Here we have a 3D projection of a 4D hypercube onto a 2D screen. In the same way that we can project a cube down into 2 dimensions and then rotate it around like this, you can also do this with a hypercube, creating the weird, trippy video we saw at the beginning of this video. Let's take a look at this projection of a hypercube. The cube in the middle isn't inside the bigger cube, but behind it in the 4th dimension, with the squash sections between the two cubes also being cubes that make up the hypercube. The hypercube, or tesseract, is made up of 8 cubes overall. The 3D net of a 4D hypercube looks like this, in much the same way that a 2D net of a cube is folded into the 3rd dimension to make our beloved cube. A 3D net of a hypercube is folded into the 4th dimension to create the shape seen. The place in the UK with the longest name is this place, located in Anglesey, Wales. If you translate this into English from Welsh, the town's name reads as the Church of St Mary in a hollow of white hazel near a rapid whirlpool and near St Cilio's Church by the Red Cave. This ridiculously long name was thought up in the 19th century as a way to lure in tourists. There are many fears and phobias out there, but what are these fears actually called? First up we have of course arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, and claustrophobia, the fear of confined spaces. The fear of heights is called acrophobia, fear of the dark, nyctophobia, and fear of snakes is known as ophidiophobia. Chorophobia is the fear of clowns, and glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. Finally, the fear of rats and mice is musophobia, and the fear of being buried alive is taphophobia. White cats are more likely to be deaf than coloured cats. Specifically, white cats with blue eyes are. 65% of white cats with 2 blue eyes are deaf, compared with 40% of white cats with only 1 blue eye, and 17 to 22% of white cats with non-blue eyes. Deaf white cats with only 1 blue eye are usually only deaf in one ear, and that ear is usually the ear that's on the same side of their head as their blue eye. This is because the genes for white fur and blue eyes are linked to the gene for deafness. White fur is caused by the dominant W gene, which suppresses the production of melanin in cells known as melanocytes. These melanocytes can also be found in the ears of cats, meaning that their suppression can result in hearing loss in cats due to a degeneration of the cochlea. None of this applies to albino cats, or cats with partially white fur though. The microwave was invented in 1942 by physicist and inventor Percy Spencer. Spencer was working for Raytheon at the time, who were an American aerospace and weapons manufacturer. Raytheon were building a radar system at the time, known as the magnetron. Spencer walked by one of the radar units, and soon after noticed that the chocolate bar in his pocket had completely melted into a gooey mess. He then tried the same thing out with various other food items, and in doing so discovered that microwaves were able to excite water molecules in such a way that they created heat, warming whatever food was placed into a microwave. In 1947, the first commercial microwave hit the market and was named rather range. It was 6 feet tall, weighed 750 pounds, and cost $5,000. It wasn't until 20 years later, in 1967, that the first countertop-sized microwave was made available for sale. The flattest place on Earth's surface is the Uyuni Salt Flat in Bolivia. Here, the highest peaks and the lowest valleys are only a few millimetres in height or depth. This Bolivian salt flat is so flat that it's actually used by satellites to calibrate their equipment. Let's take a look at some of the common phrases that were invented by William Shakespeare himself. These include vanished into thin air, heart of gold, break the ice, wild goose chase, and laughing stock. In addition to without rhyme or reason, your own flesh and blood, for goodness sake, and too much of a good thing, amongst many, many others. UK movie posters are different from other movie posters in one key way. In the UK, movie posters, also called quads, have a horizontal landscape format. However, in the rest of the world, movie posters are in a vertical portrait format. Panthers are not their own species of cat. Black panthers are actually leopards and jaguars with melanism. Melanism is a condition which results in higher melanin production, causing the cats to have darker fur than non-melanistic members of the species. The rosette patterns associated with leopards and jaguars are still present within black panthers and can even be seen within their black fur. Panthers are mostly found in tropical forests and are usually black leopards in Asia or Africa and black jaguars in South America. Melanism is caused by a recessive gene in leopards and a dominant gene in jaguars, meaning that if you ever see a black panther, it's far more likely to be a jaguar than a leopard.